You're listening to Audiology. Support this channel by becoming a member and be sure to submit your requests for topics in the comments below. Before the California Gold Rush in 1848, many settlers from Europe and the United States traveled through the Great Plains on their way to the west using trails like the Oregon and Santa Fe trails. However, the Gold Rush significantly increased the number of people moving west. The following year, to prevent potential conflicts due to this influx, Thomas Fitzpatrick, an agent of Upper Platte and Arkansas, and David D. Mitchell, the superintendent at St. Louis, both suggested organizing a meeting with the local tribes. The U.S. government, aiming to secure safe passage for these settlers, negotiated with the Plains tribes between the Arkansas and Missouri rivers. For this purpose, Congress set aside $100,000, following a recommendation from Luke Lee, the Commissioner of Indian Affairs. The negotiations took place near Horse Creek, about 30 miles from Fort Laramie, chosen for its better resources to feed the horses, since the area around Fort Laramie didn't have enough food for them. This agreement is often referred to by the locals as the Horse Creek Treaty. Representatives of various tribes, including the Lakota Sioux, Cheyenne, Assiniboine, Gros Ventre, Mandan, Arikara, Hidatsa, Shoshone, Crow, and Arapaho, participated in the treaty discussions. The U.S. Senate eventually approved the treaty, but made a significant change with Article 5, reducing the compensation duration from 50 to 10 years. All tribes except the Crow agreed to this amendment. Despite these agreements, several tribes did not receive the promised goods as payment. The Lakota Sioux were granted exclusive rights to the Black Hills area in South Dakota, a move that did not sit well with the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes. A Cheyenne historian highlighted this tension in 1967 by stating, "The Sioux were given rights to the Black Hills and other country that the Northern Cheyennes claimed. Their home country was the Black Hills." Further expressing this discontent, Arapaho Chief Black Cole voiced his frustration in 1875, emphasizing that he had not received anything for his land in the Black Hills, which he believed belonged to both the Sioux and his people. He pointed out that the Sioux, who originally came from the Missouri River, had claimed the land as their own upon reaching it. The Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes, who were the southernmost of the treaty tribes, had shared lands to the south of the North Platte River, covering what is mostly present-day Wyoming and Colorado. On the other hand, the Crow tribe's territory, which is now located in Montana and Wyoming, stretched westward from the Powder River, with the Little Bighorn River flowing right through the heart of their domain. The treaty was barely put into place before it was violated. In 1858, the Pikes Peak Gold Rush saw a huge number of miners and settlers flocking into Colorado. This influx led white settlers to overtake the lands that were promised to the Native Americans under the treaty, setting up towns, farms, and improving roads, all while ignoring the protests from the native tribes. By the time 1861 rolled around, the Cheyenne and Arapaho people found themselves pushed away from the mountains to the area around the Arkansas River. The settlers not only took over their land but also competed with them for essential resources like game and water, leading to tensions and conflicts. The U.S. government didn't step in to enforce the treaty or protect the native tribes' lands. This neglect culminated in a horrific act of violence in 1864 when Colonel John M. Chivington's forces attacked a peaceful camp of mostly Cheyenne people in what's known as the Sand Creek Massacre, killing many men, women, and children. This tragedy sparked years of warfare between the Cheyennes and the United States. Things had already been getting worse since 1854 with the Grattan Affair, when U.S. soldiers went into a Sioux camp to arrest those accused of stealing a cow, leading to a battle that killed Chief Conquering Bear. Even before settlers arrived, there were conflicts between tribes, but these intensified as white settlers and government agents began slaughtering bison en masse. This not only violated the treaty, but drove the bison to near extinction, removing a crucial resource for the tribes and forcing them into each other's territories to survive, which inevitably led to fighting. By the summer of 1862, the three tribes mentioned had been forced from their lands. Chief White Shield of the Arikara in 1864 voiced how his people had been driven from their lands by the Sioux. The diminished buffalo herds meant tribes like the Yanktonai Sioux moved into other territories like those of the Assiniboine, seeking resources but finding peace with them instead. Meanwhile, the Crows faced invasions by the Lakotas in their Powder River area, leading to battles and gradual displacement until, by 1859, they were pushed out by the Sioux. Notably, the Lakotas managed to secure a portion of the Crow territory for themselves after battles with the United States Army in 1868. Over time, the vast stretches of native territories were carved up by the United States, creating smaller reservations. For example, the original Crow Territory was divided to establish the Crow Reservation and a separate one for the Northern Cheyennes. The Crow Reservation was set up right in the heart of their former lands in 1868, whereas the Northern Cheyenne Reservation, created in 1884, was also within this area, awarded to the tribe following their resilience during the Fort Robinson outbreak. The Northern Arapaho ended up settling on the land of their former foes, the Shoshone, now known as the Wind River Reservation in Wyoming. The Southern Cheyenne and the Arapaho share a reservation in Oklahoma, far from their original treaty lands. Meanwhile, the Assiniboine people now live in the Fort Peck and Fort Belknap reservations in Montana, north of the Missouri River, even though their vast traditional territory spanned much further. This series of events showcases a turbulent period where treaties were ignored, lands were encroached upon, and the Native American way of life was dramatically altered, leading to long-standing conflicts and displacements. Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more content.